Hi everyone, in this lesson we will be covering JavaFX. And your goal is to create a simple window application using JavaFX. Let's just do a quick review on graphical user interface toolkits available in Java. AWT, which is the Abstract Window Toolkit, is the first one that came out. Java Swing is the toolkit that came out after AWT, which has more enhanced features and functionalities. And then JavaFX is the most recent GUI toolkit that came out. And our focus on this lesson or on this unit will be JavaFX. For those of you who are having trouble working with JavaFX on your personal computer, feel free to use Java Swing for all of the tasks for this unit. Let's do a quick review on Java Swing. So last unit, we create a window application using Java Swing. And window in Java Swing can be created using JFrame. So this is a top level container that can contain other components. And J components are the things that can be added or included in JFrame. Take a look at the hierarchy, the class hierarchy on the right hand side. The AW components are all in yellow and Java Swing components are in blue. So as you can see that the Java Swing components extend to AW components. So that can tell us that Java Swing has more additional functionalities. And what we did last unit was creating JFrame, which is the window, and we also created JPanel, and then we created other little components and we added those components to the J panel, and then we added the J panel to the J frame. So that's what we did. And then in JavaFX, we're going to be using a different package. So we have to get used to using different terminologies. So we're going to go over that. So those three are the terms that I want you to get used to: stage, scene, and nodes. So stage is very similar to JFrame, which is a top-level container, pretty much the window that holds a scene. So scene is very similar to JPanel that can contain other elements. Nodes are other components that can be added onto the scene. So what we're going to do, we're going to be creating nodes, which are the elements such as buttons, text fields, images, or shapes. We're going to be adding that to the scene, and then the scene will be also added to the stage. And then here I have a stage image. Just wanted to kind of like provide you an example so that you can understand these terminologies better. So stage is the top level container, pretty much that holds everything in it. Without the stage, we are not able to see or watch any play. Scene is basically the story, the little scene that we have in a play. Nodes can be thought of as actors or any props or elements that are used for the scene. Okay? And let's break it down those terminologies using an actual like window. So this is like how you can break down the window. So the top level container stage is pretty much the empty window container. And scene is the one that can hold nodes. And the scene is then added to the stage. All right, and we're gonna break this one down into further steps or further components. So in fact, there is another layer in between nodes and the scene, something called root node. So root node is a type of nodes as well. Okay, but this is basically responsible for arranging node components. So you can think of root node as a layout node. I'm going to also show you some examples of root node in the next slide. Scene is basically what holds other nodes. So if you think about adding the nodes without having the root node, those nodes are going to be added to the scene without any structure. But root node actually come up with the structure for those components. So let's take a look at some examples. Before I show you the examples, let's just take a look at those types of nodes again. So the root node, or we can sometimes call it parent node. This is a type of node that can contain other nodes. Here are some examples. So pane, VBox, HBox, GroupPane, Group, all of those are responsible coming up with the arrangements for the components. And non-parent nodes, or we sometimes call this leaf nodes, these are the ones that cannot contain other nodes, such as button, label, text field, or shapes. So here are types of root nodes that you can use. So I kind of like put them into a chart so that you can see what each one of them does. And then also you get to see the common use cases for each one of them. All right. And let's take a look at the node properties. So nodes are the components that interact with the user. Okay. So nodes can control their position and the size within the scene. And then rotation, scaling, and translation to nodes are also possible. Event handling, such as the key presses or mouse clicks, are also possible for the nodes. So we're going to take a look at this part in the later lesson. All right, now how do you set up the stage, or how do you set up the application initially? So this is basically the steps that you will take to set up the primary stage for your window application. I will soon show you an example using this template, and I'll also share this template with you on D2L. All right, so let's take a look at this example together. In this example, we're going to be creating a simple window that has a button. Okay, the first few lines, this is extremely important. Like you have to import JavaFX application and application, which is responsible for creating a window application. And we're gonna be also importing stage. There are more things that we're gonna be importing, but um, I'm just gonna have these two for now, and then we're just gonna add them on as we write through the example. Take a look at the header. As you can see, we're extending our class to application. And then once you write that down, it will probably prompt you to override the start method, which is responsible for setting up the primary stage of your window application. All right, so let's go through step by step here. So number one, we're going to create UI components such as a button, label, or like text area and so on. And then we're going to be coming up with the root node to arrange those elements. And then we're going to create a scene by passing the layout, the root node that we created in step number 2, to the scene constructor. And then we're going to set the title of the stage, set the scene on the primary stage. These two are the same thing, by the way. And then show the stage. Oh, it should be step 6. So we have to call the show method to make the window visible. So let's start with step number 1. So step number 1, we're going to create a UI components. Let's create a button. So button, I'm going to call it button, new button, and we can add click me in the button. Okay, and obviously we have to import. So this is what I mean by we are importing as we write. Step number 2, we're gonna arrange the components by creating a root node. So we have to create a root node. I gave you a bunch of examples that you can use. So you can explore these different types of root node and then choose the one that's most suited for your program. I'm gonna just simply use stack pane for this example. I'm gonna call it root stack pane. And obviously we're going to have to import this. The reason that we haven't really like imported in the beginning is because we don't really know which one to import, right? Or you can import simply import everything in the beginning. And then don't forget to add the button to the root. So we are going to call get children method, and then we're gonna call add, and then add the button there. So this will add a button to the root node. Step number 3, we're gonna create a scene by passing the layout. So we have to create the scene. We're gonna call it scene, new scene. And then scene has a lot of different constructors available. I'm gonna be using the one that has 2 double values, which are the dimensions of the scene. I'm going to add the root node and then set the scene to 500 by 500. And then once the scene is set on the stage size will automatically match the scene size. Okay, and then don't forget to import and set the title of the stage. So we're going to use the stage that's being passed to the method. So primary stage, set title, my window. And then we're going to set the scene on the primary stage. Set scene and scene. And then show the stage. We're going to call primary stage show. All right, that should do it. And then take a look at the main method here. So remember, main method is the one that's called when we hit and run the program. And inside of the main method, we are calling launch method, passing the args. So this is actually a method that's part of the application. This method will call the start method and set up the primary stage. So why don't we run this? This is the my window that pops up for this. So we have a button that's placed in the middle right there. Okay, so if you want to create more buttons, why don't we just create more buttons here? I'm gonna do button 2, button 1, button 1, button 2, and then we're gonna be adding more button. Button 2. And let's run this just to see what happens. So take a look at what happened over here. Do you see that? Oops, where did it go? So it's right here. So do you see how button 2 is there, but button 1 is not there? It's just because button 1 is behind the button 2. So stack pane is basically a pane that stack all those UI components this way. So in order to have the button show, you might want to use a different root node. So why don't we just use maybe VBox root node? So we're just gonna change it to VBox. Just trying different things, right? And then we gotta import this. And let's run this. So there you go. This is for VBox arrangement. So VBox, as the name suggests, it's a vertical arrangement of the components. So as you can see, those 2 buttons that we added are on top of each other, right, in vertical position. And then there is another one called HBox. If you use HBox, I'm gonna import this. Import. And HBox, as the name suggests, probably you have guessed it right. It will horizontally display the elements that we're adding to that root node. All right, so once again, let's just quickly go over this step by step. You're going to be creating the elements that you want to add to the window and using a root node. So this is also type of node, but this is responsible for making arrangements for those UI components that you're making. So choose the one that best suits your application, and you make sure that you add those UI components to the root node. And then we're going to create a scene, and we're going to add or pass the root node into the scene. And then you can use other constructor, but here I'm using constructor that passes 3 arguments, whereas the first one is a root. These two are the dimensions of the scene. And then this is a method to set a title for the window. Step number 5, we're going to set the scene by passing the scene to the method set scene. And then finally, we're going to be calling the method show to make sure that this is visible. Okay, so that's it.